It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
The best sports radio in Utah is right here, right here. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaCoe, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, kicking off hour number 2 of the program. Again, if you're just new to the station today, or if you weren't paying attention yesterday, new lineup. Tim and I every day from 10 to 2, and then Ben and Jake coming up from 2 to 7 right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. That music threw me off. Almost said it. All right, Jay Stevens, kind enough to hang out with us. He is our hockey insider. And Tim, one thing about Jay that you'll know, this dude he's like the John Wayne of this station. Like, the dude fights fires. He'll stop pucks. He'll break down hockey is better. He's forgotten more about hockey than we'll ever know. And an overall good dude, too. You and I were hanging out after game 1, doing a quick post-game wrap-up. Now that the dust has cleared a little bit, you've had a day or so to look back on that game. Anything change in your opinion? Anything else jump out at you?
No, not really. It's kind of weird to see. I broke down each goal that they scored. I went down. I think you know that I do this after every game. I went and I rewatched all the goals scored and all the goals against. And it's just these minor breakdowns. And for the people that were saying that, oh, well, Utah's second goal was a fluke, a lucky bounce, that's what a lot of the stuff is anyway. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it turns into a goal or if it turns into a scoring opportunity. That's what you're looking for, are those lucky bounces. That's why the coaches tell you, throw pucks on net. Things are going to happen. So what I saw was, it's so crazy that Vegas's fourth line is scoring goals on Utah's first line. And, of course, there was the power play goal, which you don't get a -4 for anyway. But if you look at it and you see Keller and those guys -3, and then you see who got the Barbashev and Sissons getting goals, those are fourth-line guys. So that's where Utah's going to make some changes. That's where, like we were talking about, I just think Utah needs to do a better job. Their first goal was scored off of Utah Mammoth structure, and that's what we need to see more of, is that structure. It wasn't a crazy turnover. It wasn't a lucky bounce. It was Utah doing what got them there, So after I digested all of it, I actually felt a little bit better. I felt pretty good leaving, but when I digested all of it and I saw where the breakdowns were and stuff like that, I felt better than I did after the loss.
What are the biggest things that, and you said it, a couple of those plays, I mean, it was like a segment of the game that they really lost control. But what is the big thing they need to do tonight, like that, to keep this game close and have a chance to win tonight?
The one thing is to maintain their structure, to play Utah hockey. And, they talk all year about speed and how speed's going to help them, and their creativity and their deceptiveness with the puck, all those quick passes and no-look passes. They need to get back to that. They need to find the middle of the ice, because in the first period they had middle of the ice. Then Vegas just clogged it up and made the neutral zone muddy. They made the offensive zone really muddy for Utah. Utah needs to get back to that. And I think everybody would agree that Vegas is big and they're bruising people. And you look at them and you say, okay, Utah got a little – they didn't mind the physicality. They had 29 hits in the game, which is more than they've had in a game before. You saw Lawson Krause led the team with 9 hits. I know McBain's hurt. I know he fought to get back in the lineup. We need 9 hits out of him as well. We need those guys to be throwing hits, and then everybody else needs to skate away from the nonsense after the whistle. It's easy to say, but when a guy punches you in the face, you just got to turn around and skate away and not punch him back, because that's what gets called. it's going to be that retaliation. And so I think Utah needs to keep playing. Like, they need to learn to play physical. They need to play the physical game, but then stay out of the nonsense after the whistle.
So when you are up against a team that's as big and strong, how do you use your size, or how do you use your speed and athleticism to combat that?
The best thing to do is, so you got to match up line 3 and line 4 of Vegas against our line and line 2, like 1 and 2 for Utah. And you got to catch those defensemen, especially the bottom pairing defensemen. That's when you use the chip and chase or the dump and chase. You got to get that puck in deep, get those defensemen from standing still to having to skate backwards or chase you. Use your speed to enter the zone and make those big guys have to be agile too. That's where big usually is used against you, right? Big is not typically fast as well, but you got to use your speed. You got to hit them at the blue line. You got to hit them fast. And if it's their first pairing of defensemen, they're not going to have any problems with that. They've proven. I'm looking at their first pairing of defensemen. It's McNabb and Theodore, and Noah Hannafin's on their second line or their second pairing. So those guys are going to be just fine. Don't try the chip and chase on them. You're going to have to beat those guys with speed, enter the zone the way they've been entering the zone all year, and that's with Keller trying to break up. He does that Gretzky curl like we talked about. He got hammered a few times doing that Gretzky curl, so he's got to make sure that second forward's not there. But use that against the first two guys, but look for that other pairing of D to be out there. Chip it on them, chase them, make them turn around, put pressure on them right away with a 2-1-2 forecheck, and keep pressure, create turnovers, and then throw pucks in the net and create chaos.
Clearing the puck seemed to be an issue the other night. I mean, you speak to the physicality.
Yeah.
But when they were able, Veggie was able to get it going, the speed was apparent, know, when they were able to get that thing cleared and get out. But is that just indicative of the size that they're dealing with and the physicality of Vegas to not be able to clear the puck easily?
Yeah, and that's Vegas being a little bit more experienced too, because when you are in playoff hockey, you cannot give anybody time and space. So that's what was happening to our forwards and our defense. Our breakouts start with the defending players from the Mammoth. They have to quarterback it, which means they have to get the puck and look up and have a little bit of time and space to make a decision. But what really has to happen is you have to know that decision prior to getting the puck. And that's something we teach from 8U all the way up. But you saw in that game, guys would get the puck, look up, and there'd be guys on them right away. They'd have defenders on them. So you gotta know what you're gonna do with the puck before you get it, and it has to be just lightning fast. That's why they went out and got Uyghur. That's his specialty, and that's Ian Cole. Those guys are two of the best at it. Marino's another one. Those guys make decisions before they get the puck, and it's gone. And a guy like Ian Cole, he knows when to also just swallow the puck in the corner, take a hit, and wait for something else to happen. You saw that happen a couple times where his pass was gone. By the time he got the puck, Vegas had shifted and taken all the passing lanes. So rather than create a turnover, he just ate it, and he took some big hits just eating the pucks in the corners. But sometimes that's what you got to do.
Jay Stevens joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, breaking down game number 2 as the Mammoth take on the Golden Knights. The moment didn't feel too big for the Mammoth in this game. That was something I was concerned about. You can point to the little mistakes that were made here and there, but it never felt like that is like, okay, yeah, the moment's too big for these guys. I never got that impression.
No, and like we were talking about the other night on the post-game show, I don't think that looked like a 1 versus 8 or, the Pacific Division leader playing the first wild card. To me, that looked like a 4 versus 5. It was two teams that were equally matched that obviously had some offensive ability. That's how they made the playoffs. But yeah, Utah came right out, and one of the first things I said, their key to the game, they had to start on time and not be caught up in the lights and the glamour, and they weren't. They had a shot at like 5:56 on Carter Hart that hit Carter Hart and almost fell through his 7-hole, and he was battling for that right away, and that just gave me the idea that I think Vegas, especially Carter Hart, was feeling it, like the pressure, more than Utah. Utah's not favored to win. Nobody expected him to be here. Some people don't even know who the Utah Mammoth are. So there's no pressure on these guys right now. And they got to remember that. They got to play like that. But you're right. They looked like they belonged, and they weren't caught up. Like I keep joking around about. They're not there to pick up a gift bag and go home. They're there. They belong there.
And Bear commented on that. He liked their mindset right out of the gate and said that was one of the things they were locked in mentally. Who has to have a big game tonight? If you were to one player, and it doesn't have to be an offensive player, a defensive player, but what player needs to have a big night tonight?
It's gotta fall to Keller to create some offensive opportunities. He was having a really hard time getting his passes through. Vegas definitely had him in their plans. I think he was the number one list on their things of how to shut down this team is get into Keller's space. So Keller would be my number one, and then number two, I want a little bit more out of Veggie. I know he didn't give up bad goals. I think maybe the first goal there was some weird, it went under his pad before it was in the back and then went in. I want to see Veggie just a little more solid on rebound control. So to me, those are the two that really need to take over tonight. You pay those guys a ton of money. And if Veggie's going to be your number one goaltender, he has to steal a game. And we all know on these playoffs, you start 2 on the road, you got to win one of them. That's the goal. Win one. They almost won one. Now it's time to actually win one and bring it back. That takes a lot of pressure off them. So need to see Keller's offense. We need to see him perform better. And then I'd like to see one more save out of Veggie. I'd like to see him finish the night at a 93% save average.
So I want to circle back on forechecking a little bit. Lloyd and I were talking about that before. And in case you're unaware what that is, it's like full court press in basketball. Like, you're pressing the ball as they bring it down. Now, there's 2 different philosophies there. Number one, you just want to disrupt the offense. You're not necessarily looking for turnovers, but you just want to get guys out of their rhythm and really force kind of a chaotic moment on the offense. And then there's other times where you are trying to create turnovers or icing or just really put them behind the 8 ball in that regard. But on the flip side, you can give up fast break opportunities if you're not in a great spot. So where's the balance on that?
Well, you have to go with the system that works best with your team skill set. It's kind of naive to think you're just, as a coach, when you come in, you're like, I'm going to run this is what I like to coach. You have to go with what your team is good at. And with Utah, they always run that 2-1-2, which is they're trying to create the turnover in the offensive zone. So you can tell if they're running the other way where they're just creating some disruption and buying time and resetting the clock a little bit, you'll see one guy go in, but he won't make contact. He'll just kind of fly at the puck carrier and make him make a move, and that's all he was trying to do. But Utah runs a 2-1-2, so you'll see one forward come in and engage on the puck right away. So that's F1 engages on the puck right away, and then F2 is high support you're always between the net and the puck, but you're coming in high to try to. The guy that first pressure was on has to make some kind of a pass, right? You cut that lane, and that's where you get your turnover. Or if you're Schmaltz, you can get that. He's so good at creating a turnover just by a stick lift, and when he's F1 on that first puck. So you have to have the speed, because if you try to create turnovers, you're right. You're going to give up odd man rushes all day if you don't create some kind of chaos in the offensive zone. It becomes an odd man break, and you used to see that a lot with New Jersey. When they were winning cups, they would gamble, and they would have that. Then they run the neutral zone trap, but then they had Martin Brodeur in the back just stopping every breakaway or every odd man rush, so they had nothing to lose.
It's like having Rudy Gobert at the paint. You can take chances on the outside, knowing that the big man's got you covered at the rim.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You've got somebody in there that is going to. It's your true last line of defense, and most time goalies are good for they're 50-60% on breakaways, and it goes lower on odd man rushes if they're getting that backdoor pass. Martin Brodeur was breaking records with that. Patrick Waugh, you've seen it lately with Shesterkin and some of these other goalies that it doesn't matter where the shot comes from. Veggie's getting there. He's made some really good backdoor saves. But yeah, it's dangerous to have a forecheck that doesn't produce something in the offensive zone and ends up with. But Utah's got the speed. They catch up.
I want to go back one thing on you said on Veggie, just to clarify. You said be better on the rebound.
Yeah.
Explain how what goes into that.
So, and it's tough because the rebound on the power play, he had a screen in front, and your goal as a goaltender is to save the first shot. And that's before in my generation, we were like, hey, I made the first save. The defender's not supposed to allow a second shot. Well, that's just not how it works anymore. Your defenders are going to keep guys tied up, but goalies got to be better at absorbing. So typically if a shot is anywhere above the leg pads, goaltenders know how to absorb those pucks. You'll see them just cradle them in or catch them or trap them on their blocker. But I saw Veggie was kind of, and Carter Hart was also fighting it a little bit, but Veggie was letting some drift off. And he made a couple big ones that I think was more of a statement for him. He made a big glove save. He grabbed it and he slammed it down on the ice when he's in the butterfly. And I think that was more for him than for anybody. Like, man, I got it and I controlled the rebound because Vegas put a ton of traffic in front of him. He was having a hard time seeing it. So a lot of times you're just playing where you think the shot is coming from because you have a guy like Mark Stone who parks his butt cheeks right in front of your face. You can't see anything about, and you're looking around a 6'4", 220-pound forward, and you can't see anything. So you go to where you think the puck's going from, you sit tight on that person, and then you make the save. And it's hard to control the rebound when you don't know when and where the shot's going to hit you. But NHL goalies do hard things, so I would like to see him absorb some of those pucks. And but yeah, that's the thing.
Cool. Okay.
How do you get that guy? We talk about moving guys out of the paint.
Yeah.
In basketball, how do you get that guy out of the crease?
Watch what Ian Cole does. He puts his elbow right in the back, right in the small of those guys' backs. He pushes. He uses his stick as a lever to push guys out, and that's to the defenseman. They've got to clear that spot, and the goalie will let them know. There's a lot of times guys can be in front of you, and you're not worried about it. They're not screening it. But then you'll hear the goalie yell, screen, or let me see it. Or he'll even call the defenseman and be like, Cole, like, you want this guy moved. And then the defenseman just comes and, assaults that guy, but keeps it on the level. And that's the one thing, that the higher you go in the levels of hockey, like when I was playing minors, like it gets crazy physical. And then you go up another level and you're like, it's even more physical here. And you're in the NHL and it's just a cage brawl. So that's the price you have to pay to be in front of the net.
Have we talked about Shoresy?
I think we talked a little bit about Shoresy.
Yeah, you're a fan, right?
I am a fan.
Yeah, is that pretty accurate in terms of what that middle of nowhere hockey league is
100%.
like?
Yeah, 100%. And they even have that in Alaska, and they made Mystery Alaska after that.
Yeah.
They have that same. It's the senior men's league. We have a former Utah Grizzly who went on to play for the New York Islanders, Mike Mole. He's in that league. And he's a cop. I think he's 45 or something, and he's still living the dream like Shoresy.
I love it.
And those guys, yeah, it's awesome. And that's real, and it's fun. And they talk that way. They act that way. It's its own culture.
That?
I have not. I need to see that.
Yeah, you would love that.
Yeah, I've had a little busy run.
Yeah, no, I know. You've had a lot on your plate.
Between now and the beginning of next season, I will watch. You got 8 seasons of Letterkenny first, and then that and Shoresy's the spinoff. So then I think you got 7 seasons of that.
Yeah, I've never watched Letterkenny. I just started with Shoresy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they're awesome. And Shoresy, they did a really good job with Shoresy. And Letterkenny, he was not a likable person, and then as they evolved him into who he was, it was. Yeah, what a great job they did with that.
I asked Bill Armstrong, and he's like, I don't have time to watch this. I was a little bummed out. He had not seen that.
It's because he lived it, and I bet he did see it. He's just not going to tell you.
Oh, okay, yeah, he knows. It's like front office guys in golfing. They don't want you to think they're out there, but they're out there.
I haven't played in 2 years.
Yeah, I'm still rocking that 4 handicap, but yeah. Hey, appreciate it, man. Great stuff as always.
Thank you.
There he is, Jay Stevens, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.